All right, what's up, guys? Jeremy at Middle Tennessee Firearms Training out on the range today, doing a little bit of holster work, really just kind of fine-tuning some of those mechanics. While I was out here though, I thought about, hey, you know what? I want to help you guys, both you guys coming through classes with us, those that just follow the channel. Maybe you're not in our area and you're trying to just follow us for good tips and tricks and all that fun stuff, which we do appreciate, by the way. Give us a like, share, and subscribe. That would be much appreciated. One thing I wanted to hit on today, and what I want to continue to going forward, is we've got some videos up on some trigger isolation drills and some presentation isolation drills, but I want to continue kind of that isolation process, picking certain skills, certain fundamentals, and isolating down to where that's really the main focus of one or two or three of your specific drills that you're doing, or maybe you're dry firing at home. And I want to build this from the ground up. So how do we do that? What are we looking for here? We're going to start with your master grip. So to do that, I'm going to get my pistol out. We're going to clear the gun out and make sure that we are free and clear so that we can do this. Gun is free and clear. Yep, we're good. Safely back to the holster. Stow that round back in there and save that mag for here in just a minute when we go back to some live fire stuff. Let's get gun back out. All right, so I'm using a Wilson Combat frame here. Anybody's gonna ask those questions, hey, what are you gripping down on? Because hand size is a thing. So let's start with master grip. We're gonna work two things today. Your master grip, I emphasize your master grip, and we're gonna work that holster draw. Let's start with the master grip, because really, your master grip should start the moment you make contact with your pistol. Why is that? Well, I don't want to get the gun out with a crappy grip and having to be fix it on out here when it needs to be in the fight. Because let me tell you, if you got your gun out, it needs to be in the fight. You got it out for a reason. It needs to be ready to fight as soon as it comes out of that holster. We'll talk more about that here in a minute, going through that holster draw. But that master grip, when coming out of the holster, I established that grip here. I got touch points. When I come out of the holster, my thumb is on the back plate. Because of my holster draw and the way my holster sits up against my gut, this is the most efficient way for me to get that. And as I come up and get gun in position, my thumb rolls over, but it stays up. It stays up so that it's ready to receive my support hand here. I'll turn this way. My support hand, we'll touch on this and then we'll deep dive it here. But my support hand is really gonna fill whatever void is left here from my dominant hand. More about the dominant hand. Notice that my middle finger here, the touch point for me to know that I'm in the right position, is actually different than what your touch point might be. It's not gonna be I can't say a specific knuckle. I'm actually in between two knuckles there. Some of you, it might be on the knuckle. Understand when I said your master grip, it is your master grip because your fingers, your hands are different sizes than mine, and you may be using a different size pistol than I'm using. So that's gonna cause things to be slightly different. So my touch point is I get my middle finger, my bird finger up there against the trigger guard. My trigger finger is high and tight off the trigger, not hanging out over the trigger guard, not pushing pressure on the trigger guard, but high and tight off the trigger. And that is for good safety, good habits. You just want good results? Well, again, set yourself up for success by keeping your finger high and tight off the trigger till you are on target and committed and made the deciding factor to shoot, right? So that's where all this is. Our support hand, when we join that hand up, again, if I was to join and fill that void and my hand was just straight, there's a problem here, because then I close my hand down and my finger, index finger, goes right over the trigger guard, and I don't want that. I've seen some people do that. I don't like it. Don't do it. That's my take on it. I would then cant this hand forward some to where I'm getting more of the meat part of my palm of my hand here on this voided out area. So if I do that, I can cant, fill that area, and now my hand goes underneath the trigger guard and my index finger is contacting and touching the trigger guard. That's where I want it, high and tight as much as possible up against that trigger guard and up against this voided out area with my thumb running right down the slide like this, to the point of these two look like they are just mirroring each other on either side of the slide and frame, right? And then my thumb that we were keeping straight up, waiting for the support hand, it just comes down and rests right there. A lot of people like to take a Sharpie. I like to do that in classes too, to remind people, hey, check your hands, because they'll present out there with some kind of funky thumbs are covering each other up and they're down here and now there's this weird thing going on. Now get your thumbs in the right position, pointed, oriented. I like to say oriented to target, and they kind of really are, right? Now, how tight are you gripping the gun? Well, that's kind of a, you'll find different guys saying different things and guys doing different things and having success doing different things. I have taught it since day one of gripping the gun like you mean it, like gripping down as tight as you can with both hands. Classes, I've been to classes where they don't teach that. I've been to classes where they're like, hey, your dominant hand is really there just to pull the trigger and kind of a firm handshake. This hand comes in and just grips down like a vice over top of that hand, which causes the grip to be tighter. I've heard that. I'm not buying it. I don't like to do that. I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm not saying they're right. I don't like that. I like gripping the gun as tight as you can with your dominant hand and then coming right over there with the support hand and being just as tight and getting good purchase, good friction on the gun at all the contact points you possibly can. High and tight with that dominant hand. There's no gap back here. That's what this little beaver tail is back here for, is to keep your hand down from when the slide comes back. See, my hand is high and tight up there. It's not going to get bit by the slide at all. It's completely safe from that happening if you're doing that right. So that's my grip. That's my master grip. Your master grip might be slightly different than that. Again, grip sizes, grip hand or hand sizes, all that kind of stuff factors into this. So now let's work that holster draw. We've talked a little bit about, hey, right when you touch the gun, that's where your master grip starts. 100%. I do not like seeing people get guns out and have bad grip, whatever, bad something going on, and they need to fix everything up in here and then press out, or they try fixing it out here even. I'll tell people this, are you gonna get a 100% perfect draw every time? Probably not. I don't know anybody who gets it 100% of the time, every single time. Correct. I don't know anybody who's ever done that and been that perfect every time. So if you have to fix something, if you absolutely have to fix something, yes, I want you to fix it here before you press out to here. We're not gonna give our gun out there for someone to knock it out of our hands or grab it, or us to get really piss poor accuracy because we're still trying to fix our hands out here, right? That's what I don't want to have happen. I'll use this phrase. I've heard a football coach this past season, Mike Norvell, used this with Florida State Seminoles. Anybody who follows college football knows there was a little controversy at the end of the season of who should be in the college football playoff. What does a coach have to say to his players after that? You know, like if you've done everything you've told them to do, you've trained, you've done everything, and they've done everything that the coach has asked them to do, and they have to look at their coach and they're asking questions, why didn't this work out? The message from Mike Norvell ever since he got there has been this: we train for success, but it does not guarantee success. There is so much truth in that, and more than just firearms and in more than just sports. Everything. You train for success, but it does not guarantee success. You could do everything right and still have something not work out. We train to the point now where we try to even work through those mistakes. If somebody gets a bad holster draw, here, let me start over. No, work through it. Work through it so you're used to even working through some of that stuff too, because in real world, there's none of this, oh crap, that was a bad holster draw, let me start over. Hey buddy, hold on, reset. No, there's none of that. We have to work through those things. All right, let's get some live fire holster draw stuff. Let me walk you through it dry real quick. I teach 4-step method. There are some that teach 3 steps. There are some that don't even say anything about steps. They just say, hey, get the gun out, join your hands here in the middle, and then press out. And I would argue we're all teaching the same thing. We're just breaking it down differently so that some people can understand better, or it just helps hone in the mechanics of the draw. So what we're hoping to do with 4 steps, and I'll break it down for you. 1 is I'm clearing cover garment with support hand, and dominant hand is going to the gun and establishing master grip right there. Boom. 2, gun is out and oriented in front of me, angled downward but oriented in front. 3, hands join, and 4, pressing to target. Why do I break it down into 4 steps instead of like 3 steps, or why break it down into steps? This position 2 is what throws people off. Position 2. So we're gonna go 1, 2. I want to be able to shoot if I have to right here, one-handed, angled downward, because I'm telling you, if this hand's not available, 1 of 2 things has happened. Either it's injured and it's out of the fight, or 2, I am trying to knock somebody off of me, punch them, or I'm holding on to somebody because they're so close to me and this is all I got, right? And I'm not gonna angle the gun up and risk flagging and shooting my own arm or hand. I'm gonna keep the gun angled down and get me some good pelvic girdle shots. That's kind of what would happen there. So that is why I teach that. Now, the important thing to remember is I'm not at all insisting that or telling anyone that their holster draw every time they do it should look like this. There's not these hitches. Once you learn the mechanics, it should, and what you should be aiming for is one fluid motion at that point. So if you're at a relaxed, or if you're up here and like, hey man, I'm just here, don't bother me, I'm not in this. However your hands, you want to position them, train them from different positions, y'all. But I'm gonna go from relaxed. If I have to go, there weren't any hitches there, I'm there. Same thing again, I'm here. Oh, see, work through it, huh? Yes, even I am human. Even I am human. So again, if I'm here, again, train for success. Understand it doesn't guarantee success. You may have to, I mean, guys, you can't dry fire this enough at home. Dry fire the heck out of holster draw. There's something I'll tell everybody that comes through class. I don't care how good a shooter you are. I don't care how accurate you are. I don't care how many tuck and rolls you can do and pop up and hit 3 or 4 targets. If you can't get the gun into the fight efficiently, every time, consistently, every time, it doesn't matter how good you can shoot. There are plenty of videos of guys who are failing to even get in the fight and they lose before they're ever really in the fight because they can't get their holster or they can't get their gun out of their holster. Whether it be a bad holster, whether it be a bad holster draw, or whether they're wearing a holster that it's a good quality holster, but because they're wearing a suit one day, they're wearing their gun in a different spot and they haven't practiced the draw from there. I.e. Texas church shooting. Check that one out, where the guy in the back row with a shotgun turns to a safety team member and has a solid, I believe, if you time it right, at least 2 to almost 4 seconds, 2 to 4 seconds to react to this shotgun. And you can see him trying to get his gun out from this like 4, 5, 6 o'clock position, and he can't do it, and he suffers the ultimate sacrifice and dies. Be able to get your gun in the fight. All right, let's actually get some live fire reps in here. Let's take y'all down range a little bit here so you can see what that holster draw is gonna look like. We're gonna move you right here. I think that'll be good. Yeah. We're gonna work from our 12-ish, 14-ish yard line here. We're gonna go ahead and get gun out. I am empty, so I'm now gonna go through a loading process here. And this is an admin load, so yeah, I wouldn't normally stow extra mags in my pocket there out in public. I would actually do this somewhere on my left side in kind of this, like today, I'm using a Neomag. Neomag carriers are pretty awesome. Press checks are free. If you're using a striker fired gun, it's always a good idea to give a little tap there, make sure you're back to battery. And then I'm looking at safely back to the holster. I'm going to tag that moment right there, looking at back to the holster. We'll talk more about that at the end of this. Let's just get a couple of holster draws in. So target over here on the right. And again, I'm not using a shot timer yet. I'm just working through mechanics. So if I wanted to slow this down and just work through mechanics at home and dry fire or on a range that allowed holster draw, that's rare, but there are some out there that do. Get out there on the range in your home, dry fire. I can go 1, 2, 3, and 4. Fingers off the trigger. safe to reholster. Again, we're just working the mechanics now. I want to work from up here. 1, 2. Ooh, see, we skipped 2. This is 2, 3, and 4. Jeremy gets in such a hurry sometimes. He's just ready to go straight to it, man. Let's do it again. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Ooh. Safely back to the holster. All right, so let's up the game a little bit now. Now let's say you've learned the mechanics a little bit. Now we want to actually just get this one fluid motion, which is what I've ingrained so hard. You just saw me there try to go straight to number 3 and press out. Once you've ingrained this pretty good and you can just start making it one fluid motion, that's what will happen is you forget about hitches in there and stops and pauses to make sure everything's good. You actually just start making holster draws like this. Safely back to the holster. Up here. I don't know about y'all, but I don't really notice any hitches there that those guys that say, hey, if you train different steps like that, you're gonna have all these weird hitches in there. I don't really notice that anymore, guys. I don't know about y'all, but maybe there's something there. So I'm here now, or let's just say, hey, I'm up here. Oh, failure to lock back on an empty mag. Shame on you, Sig. Should I edit that out? Nah, we'll leave that stuff in there. I like to use these flush fitting mags for my actual carry mags. So we'll tack mag that guy and leave this guy in the Neo mag. How about that? Some of y'all are like, I saw your gun move on that trigger press. Yeah, I'm sure you did, Panama Red. All right, let's up the game now. Now you've got an efficient, you're looking pretty good on your holster draw. Now let's add a little bit of movement. You can dry fire this at home, sticky note on the wall, and on go or shot timer or whatever, you can add some movement in there. So now I'm here, go. If you're on a live fire range that allows for some stuff like that, you can actually add in multiple shots safely back to the holster. And then don't get in the habit of going just one direction. You want to be able to move several directions here. So I'm here, go. Right? Safely back to the holster. Y'all get the idea there. We want to make sure these are good movements. You want to make sure that these are replicable. You can replicate this on command. You want to make sure it's consistent. You want to get good results. Let's change camera angles here so we're not all, there we go. But I want, what I'm driving home at here is when I said earlier about training for success and it doesn't guarantee success, as I try to find a good spot here. Bear with me, guys. No cameraman today, just me. Ha! There's never a cameraman, it's always just me. Training for success doesn't guarantee success. It just sets us up for it, right? Why wouldn't you want to set yourself up for success in anything that you do? Let this not just be a message to you in your firearms training and self-defense training, but let this be a message to you in anything you're choosing to tackle, whether it be you're trying to hit the gym every week, every day, or 3 times a week, whatever. Set yourself up for success. Obviously, going to bed extremely late and having to get up extremely early to hit the gym, that's not setting you up for success in the morning. That's setting yourself up for, no, I'm too exhausted today. Snooze button, snooze button, snooze button. Oh, I can't go to the gym anymore. We'll sleep in a little longer now. Whatever, again, whatever this is, maybe at your job, set yourself up for success. You wouldn't pile on and make sure that you have all this crap you got to get done by the end of the week and you wouldn't save it till Friday. No, you'd be trying to chip away at it during the week and set yourself up for a good Friday, right? That's just good thoughts on any of that stuff. So when it comes down to, I mentioned earlier about coming back safely to the holster. I'm revisiting something here. When I come back to the holster, I finished what I'm doing up here. Y'all can't see it because of the sunglasses, but a lot of times I'm catching, almost every time, I'm catching a glance. of where my trigger finger is. And that's when I'm saying, hey, it's safe to come back to the holster. I'm also looking it back to the holster. Why am I doing that? So what I've just explained today is some methodology on how to do your holster draw, how to do your master grip. Now I'm talking about safely going back to the holster. These are all ways to do things. It's not the way, it's a way to do things. The reason I emphasize that is because I hear too many times is that's not the way. There's a key word in there they keep saying. No, that's not the way. There's the. They put the in there. And there's guys that train with the three-step holster draw, and there's guys that don't like to even mention the 3 steps. They just do it. And they say it should be just one motion, one motion. It's not wrong. It's just different. Another method I'll drive home here and focus on, because I've seen it and heard about it being teached. Can't even, hey, is that a word? Taught. It's a word. We'll leave that in there too. Good bloopers, I guess. I've seen it taught a certain way, and I've also heard other people talk about this. So I'm going to get my gun back out. We're going to safety check it and clear it for this. Why am I doing that for this? Everybody's saying, well, you should be able to do this whether the gun is loaded or not loaded. I agree with you. I'm choosing not to. I'm setting myself up for success because I'm about to do something that I don't train regularly to do. So if it's something outside of that, why would I risk anything if it's something that I don't train regularly to do? What am I talking about? The safely back to the holster thing. So boom, 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 shot, the game is over. I have seen what I've done to the target. I have checked the area now around me. I have seen all that stuff. Everything's cool. It's safe. I've seen my fingers off the trigger. It is now safe to go back to the holster. And I look it back to the holster. There will be some out there that you go through a class and they will say you're not allowed to look it back to the holster. They will ask you and they will demand by the end of it that you actually go back to the holster while keeping eyes on threat and using touch points to get back in your holster. Is it wrong? No. And their argument is, why would you take your eyes off threat to look it back to your holster? That's a pretty good, reasonable argument. I would agree. My argument back to that, and the reason I train to look it back to the holster, I want to make sure my holster's free and clear. I want to make sure there's nothing that's gotten caught in there. I want to make sure my shirt didn't get caught in there. I want to make sure brass didn't get down in there. I want to make sure that, heck, my pants or something, or the holster hasn't malfunctioned in some way or is whatever, to where when I go back to the holster, I am 100% sure that I've done everything I can to make sure the gun doesn't do anything it's not supposed to do once it's in that holster, yeah? I'm also not going to ever go back to the holster if I still think the threat is a threat or a problem, right? Like if I just took down a situation in my house, we'll use my house for example. If I just took down a bad guy who broke into my house in the middle of the night and meant us harm, and I took him down, and I have deemed now that, if I've still got eyes on target, right, and I still think he's a threat, do you think that I'm going to look it back to the holster? No, I'm going to keep the gun out and keep the gun on him, right? If I've deemed that he's no longer a threat, then yeah, I'd go back to my holster. Or if the police show up and I can hear them coming through the door, I'm either going to set my gun down, or without them seeing me, obviously, I just want to be safely back to the holster. I don't want to be having a gun out when police arrive. Here's the thing. It's not going to work the same every situation. You have to have different tools you can pull from. Just know that the methodology I teach, and the reason I teach it, is because I feel like I would not be bringing the gun back to go to the holster if I felt like I needed to keep an eye on this guy, then my gun's staying out. Once I've deemed it's okay to go back to the holster, then I'll go back to the holster and I will look it back every time. That's just the way I train it. Whatever stance you take on that, whatever stance you take on however methods your draw stroke, however you do it, make sure you're able to defend it and know why you do it. Last little thought. There's nothing that drives a parent or a coach or a boss at a job more crazy than when someone says, hey, why did you do it this way? Or why did you do that? And they look at you and say, I don't know. You may not even be like, they may not even be in trouble, but by gosh, when they say, I don't know why I did that. Well, give me a reason. Like, what was your thought process? Because I want to know what caused you to think you should do it that way. That's what I'm asking. That's what I want to find out. Because if I'm teaching you something out here on the range and you do something completely off that, and I ask you, say, hey, why you did it this way? Can you tell me and walk me through why you did it this way? I'm just curious. I want to know why you did it that way. And they can defend it, and it's safe, and it's efficient, and it's repeatable. I may not tinker a lot with how they grip the gun or their holster draw stroke if it's slightly different. I'll mention to them, hey, there's some differences there. As long as you're aware of it, I'm cool with it. Whoa, whoa, hey, hey, hey. Spring is in the air, and so are the wasps. All right, I'll wrap up. Jeremy at Middle Tennessee Firearms Train hard, train safe. Get in a class. Get in a class. We've got some good classes coming up here the back half of the year. I can't believe we're almost halfway through the year as it is, but June is nearly booked up, guys. If you all find some classes, if you're looking for a rifle class, we've got some spots open for it. We've got classes in July, August, September, October, November. Get in a class. There's no excuse. Train hard, train safe. Educate, train, defend. Hey, and one more. Train beyond the lane. Take your training beyond the lane. Y'all be safe. See you next time.